Chapter 3 Rags to Riches. In any relationship, the party taking the initiative was often seen as more lowly and desperate. Therefore, upon seeing Emmanuel and his family at her house, Melanie Zimmerman wore an even haughtier expression than when she was at the café. Ha! I knew this loser wouldn't be able to get over my looks, so he's come to badger me again. Melanie's mother, Melody Claus, was just as smug when she learned of the Lowe family's intention. If your son wishes to marry my daughter, you'll have to give us a betrothal gift of 500,000, she said as she raised her palm. We won't accept anything less. Emmanuel's heart instantly sank. Oh, my goodness. 500,000. Is she trying to sell her daughter? Alessandra, however, gritted her teeth and nodded. That's fine. As long as my son can get married, I'll do anything to make up for the betrothal gift, even if it means selling the house. How would she pay for the couple's car and home? Sure. That's no problem. Rosalind piped up, even going so far as to pull her brother back when she realized he wanted to object. She was just as eager for Emmanuel to start a family, and at 30 years old, she had worked and saved up enough to make the necessary down payments for him. Since Mom is settling the betrothal gift, I shall help Emmanuel with the car and home. Lastly, he will bear all household expenses after the wedding. Melanie suddenly said. That, however, was the last straw for Emmanuel. Are you guys marrying off your daughter or selling her? I don't mind paying this much if she's coming to work for us as a housekeeper, but if she expects to be treated like a princess or queen, you can forget it. I don't need that. Look at your son. What's with that attitude? Melanie yelled. We aren't even married yet, and he's already so domineering. Wouldn't it be worse down the road? No. The marriage will work out. It'd work out just fine. Alessandra pleaded, desperate to finalize the wedding. I can't wait any longer. I must fulfill my husband's dying wish by the end of the year. Having seen how things were going, even Rosalind knew she had to step in to persuade her mother. Mom! Stop forcing it. Manny's right. There's nothing wrong with giving a betrothal gift, car, and house. However, asking him to be the sole supporter of his family after the wedding is too much. What about his wife, then? Why can't she chip in? Will she be sending her own money back to her parents? Just then, Melanie's younger brother, Jacob Zimmerman, suddenly appeared with a cocky grin plastered on his face. Ha! Don't forget about me, Melanie. When it's my turn to get married, I'd be counting on you guys to buy me my car and house too. Upon hearing that, Emmanuel instantly exploded with rage. What the F***ck? Am I marrying your sister or your entire family? I may as well support all of you. Even though Emmanuel had only meant that as in Candy Crush Saga Rich's angry remark, Melanie decided to hold him to his word. Ha! You'd better remember what you just said. In that case, I'll leave you to plan and pay for the wedding banquet and honeymoon. Don't tell me you can't afford that. Get lost. I'd rather marry a pig than a woman like you. Emmanuel retorted as the rage and ferocity he used to experience on the battlefield came flooding back. He didn't know what the Zimmermans were playing at, but there was no doubt they were monsters. Look at yourself. You're just an uncultured brute with marriage. I'd rather marry a boor than you. Melanie snapped back. Given my qualities, I have no problem marrying a rich man, so why should I settle for a pauper like Emmanuel? I'm only too happy that he wants to fall out with me. After giving an exasperated laugh, Emmanuel stood up and stormed off, leaving Alessandra and Rosalind with no choice but to follow suit. To their surprise, they had only just stepped out of the Zimmerman residence when 3 luxury cars pulled up in front of them. The Zimmermans quickly popped out to see the commotion and almost dropped their jaws when they saw the car lineup. Oh, D***mn. Those cars are worth tens of millions. What's going on? Since when were the Lowes that fancy? Emmanuel, on the other contrary, seemed to recognize one of the cars. Didn't I see that car outside the café the next second? Terence stepped out of the car, surrounded by his convoy of suited bodyguards. He smiled as he approached Emmanuel and said politely, "I'm here to return the favor, Mr. Lowe, after you helped me outside the café." Needless to say, everyone was stunned. Rosalind couldn't hide her excitement and gripped her brother's arm tightly. "Ah! Isn't this like those rags to riches stories?" The more Emmanuel thought about it, the more he frowned. Wow! Who knew this old geezer was a millionaire? Could he have intentionally fallen at the café? Terence waved his hand, and within seconds, his subordinates had unloaded several boxes of gifts. Not only were there precious stones and jewelry, but there were also famous paintings, antiques, and even a Porsche key. The total value of the items had to be at least 10 million. For someone who earned a mere 80,000 a year, 10 million was an eye-watering amount of money that Emmanuel could only dream of. Upon witnessing the scene, the Zimmerman family almost collapsed in shock. Melanie might be a well-dressed woman, but the truth was, her family was just like any other average family. To them, 10 million was undoubtedly an astronomical sum. **T. If I had known Emmanuel would become a multimillionaire, I'd have married him straight away. After snapping out of her daze, she smiled and hastily clutched Emmanuel's arm. "What's the matter, darling?" "Oh, wow. You're so kind to help the elderly. I love that about you. Who's your darling?" Emmanuel asked, embarrassing Melanie so much that she wanted to crawl into a hole. As though that wasn't enough, he brusquely pushed her away and added, "Didn't you just reject me? Why are you still using honeyed words?" Melanie muttered, clearly at a loss for words. Her family, too, was incredibly frustrated. After all, they had just missed out on getting a wealthy son-in-law. Meanwhile, Alessandra was about to say something when Rosalind tugged at her. "As much as I want Manny to start a family, I can't let him settle for the horrible Zimmermans. Besides, he's rich now. I'm sure he can find an even better woman." "Mom, Rosalind, let's go," Emmanuel said before ushering both women into the car. He didn't want to accept the gifts, especially since he knew he hadn't done anything to deserve them. However, it wasn't the time and place to discuss the matter, so he decided to leave instead. Once the Lowe family had left, a gust of cold wind swept over the Zimmermans as they seated silently. "How could you have made such remarks earlier, Melanie? Do you think it's easy to find a millionaire these days?" Melody berated. What should I do now, then?" In all honesty, Melanie was at a complete loss. She had gone on several blind dates to find a rich husband who could give her a life of luxury. Alas, who knew she'd let a multimillionaire slip right through her fingers? "What else can we do? They've already come to our place to ask for your hand in marriage. Can't we do the same?" Melody suggested. Jacob, who was just as anxious, instantly exclaimed, "I don't care, Melanie. You have to marry that multimillionaire. When my girlfriend and I get married, you must give us a house and a luxury car. Otherwise, I'll disown you." Okay. I got it," Melanie replied with a long sigh. "Arg. Emmanuel and I left on such bad terms. Would he still care about me?"